You're going to learn how to use the if function in Google Sheets. You're going to learn how to perform a simple if-then decision, how to use AND logic, or logic, and even how to nest multiple if functions in Google Sheets. You can download the spreadsheet used in the video via the link below, and with that, let's start learning about the if function in Google Sheets. The first thing that you can do with the if function is run a single logical test. For instance, you could test if a number is less than a certain amount, and then the function would do one thing if the test is true, or another thing if the test is false. For this specific example, you have some sales agents, their quota, and sales numbers. The goal is to write a formula that will return yes if the sales agent has met their quota, and no if they have not. And this is the perfect scenario to use the if function. And to do that, just start with the first agent and begin by entering equals and the if function. Then, for the first argument, this is where you enter the test that you want to perform. In this case, you want to test if the sales number for Ray is at or above his sales quota. Or in other words, you want to test if the sales number is greater than or equal to the quota number. So, to create this test, select the sales number, then enter the greater than sign, which is the right arrow character, and then the equal sign. Finally, select the quota in cell C4, and this expression will test to see if the value in D4 is greater than or equal to the value in C4. And that's what you want, so you are done with this argument and can move to step 2. For the second argument, you specify the result that you want if the test returns true. So in this case, you want back the text value of yes. So you simply type in yes. Just be sure to include quotes anytime that you manually type a text value into a formula. Then you move on to the third argument, and the third argument is the result you want back if the test returns false. In this case, you want the text value of no if the sales agent did not meet their sales quota. So you just type in no, then you are done with the function, so you can close parentheses and press enter. And if you drag the formula down with the fill handle, you can see that yes is returned for each sales agent who met their quota, and no is returned for each sales agent who did not. Let's take a look at how to use the if function with AND logic next. Here you've got some foods along with their types and colors. Your goal is to test which foods are green vegetables and then enter the text buy it if the test is true, or enter a dash otherwise. This means you have to test which foods are both vegetables and green. To pull this off, start with the first food and enter equals and the if function. Then, for the first argument, enter the test that you want to perform. In this case, you need to run 2 tests and see if both are true. And any time you need to run multiple tests and only get back true if every test is true, you want to use the AND function. So this is where you would type that in. From here, you enter each test as an argument for the AND function. So start by entering your first test, which in this case would be C7 equals C4, because you are testing to see if the type for spinach is equivalent to vegetable. And once you have your first test, move to the next argument where you will enter your second test. You want to see if the color in D7 is equal to the color green in cell C3. Awesome. That does it for both tests, so you can close parentheses for the AND function. Now the AND function will run both tests and return true if both are true. However, if either test returns false, then the AND function will return false, and that's what you want. So that does it for the first argument of the if function, and you can now move to the next argument. Here, you just enter the result that you want if the test returns true, and in this case, that's the text, buy it. Then, for the next argument, you enter the result you want if the test returns false, and in this case, it's just a singular dash. With that, you can close parentheses, press enter, and you've got the result for your first food. It is indeed a green vegetable, so you should buy it. Now, before you copy this formula down with the fill handle, you want to make a few of the references absolute. If you look at the formula, you can see that you are referencing the values of green and vegetable in C3 and C4. You want the formula for every food to reference these specific values. So, you don't want these references to change when you copy the formula down. And to prevent them from changing, you can make them absolute references by adding in $signs like this. And a quick way to do this is to place your cursor over the reference and press F4 on your keyboard. Awesome. Leave these other two references as they are because you do want them to change when you copy the formula down. And now you can just use the fill handle to complete the table, and you're done with this example. Fantastic. Now let's look at how to use the if function with OR logic. Here you have a list of tasks, and you've marked them as either important, urgent, or both. Your goal is to return yes for any task that is important or urgent, and then return a dash if that task is neither. So, once again, starting with the first task, enter equals and the if function. The first argument is where you enter the test you want to perform, and in this case, you want to run two tests and get back true if either test is true. So in a case like this, you want to enter the OR function. Once you've done that, just enter each test as an argument for the OR function. So for your first argument, you want to test if the first task is marked as important, or in other words, has an X in the cell. And then for the next argument, you want to test if the task is marked as urgent. So you select D4, enter equals, and then X. And that's every test. So you can now close parentheses for the OR function and move to the second argument of the if function. Here is where you enter the result that you want if the test returns true. So you type in yes. And then for the third argument, you enter the result that you want if the test returns false, which in this case is a dash like so. You can then close parentheses, press enter, and there you have it. Now you can just use the fill handle to copy the formula down for the other tasks, and you are done with this example problem. Let's look at one more scenario where you would need to use nested if functions to get your final result. Here you've got some sales agents once again, along with their sales numbers. Your goal is to write a formula that will return the top bonus amount if they've reached the indicated sales threshold, or return the lower bonus amount if they only meet the lower threshold, and of course return 0 if they do not meet either threshold. Basically, you want to write a formula that will perform a logical test that looks like this. To pull this off, you will need to use several if functions together, which is called nesting. Here is how it works. Starting with the first agent, begin with equals and the if function. You then pick a test that you want to perform first. In this case, let's say that you want to test if the sales agent has met the top bonus threshold. So you select their sales number, and then greater than or equal to, and select the top sales threshold. Now, if this test is true, you want back the top bonus number, so you can select cell D4. However, if you get back false, you still have one more test that you want to perform. You want to see if the sales agent met the lower bonus threshold. So, this is where you would enter another if function. Once again, you enter the test, which is the sales number, greater than or equal to the lower bonus threshold. And if this test is true, you want back the lower bonus amount. And if this test is false, then they get a big fat 0 instead. And that's it. Just close parentheses twice for both if functions, press enter, and you're done. However, before you drag this formula down with the fill handle, you still need to make a few of these references absolute so they don't change. Specifically, the references for these cells right here. So just go into your formula, select each appropriate reference, and press F4 to make it an absolute reference. And of course, once you're done, just use the fill handle to drag the formula down, and you are done with this example. Awesome! If everything made sense, then give this video a like, let me know in the comments if it didn't make sense, and subscribe if you learned something new. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next Spreadsheet Life video.